Heartwarming rescue. Discover the incredible journey of a cat saved from a hidden termite nest. Jamie stood at the window, the rain pouring down in relentless sheets, as darkness settled over their once inviting neighborhood. The storm mirrored the turmoil in her heart. After losing her job, the weight of uncertainty crushed her spirit, but the day they found Whiskers, the scrappy stray cat with the wild eyes and a heart of gold, everything began to change. Emily and Lucas adored him, and that little ball of fur seemed to be the cure they all needed. The world felt a bit brighter. Emily's laughter echoed with every pounce of Whiskers, and Lucas would giggle when the cat chased his own shadow. For the first time in months, Jamie felt a flicker of hope. That joy was abruptly stifled when the storm rolled in, fierce and furious, and Whiskers vanished without a trace. "Whiskers! Come here, buddy!" Jamie cried, stepping outside into the chaos, pouring rain hitting her face like tiny heartbreaks. Panic surged in her chest as she called for him louder. Emily and Lucas joined her, their small voices lost in the wind. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As news of Whiskers spread, neighbors began to murmur, some offering help, while others scoffed at Jamie's plight. "It's just a cat," someone sneered, while Mrs. Henderson next door, once an icy observer, softly remarked, "That cat brought them joy. We should help." Their words mixed with judgment, creating a storm inside her. Jamie swallowed hard against the shame bubbling up within her, but she pressed on. The search parties began to form, unlikely combinations of neighbors picking teams amid the rain-soaked streets. Old feuds resurfaced, disagreements crackled like thunder above them. Yet Emily and Lucas shined bright, leading the charge with poster boards decorated in crayon, shouting, "Have you seen our Whiskers?" Their innocence pulled even the reluctant to their cause. As Jamie found herself caught in the eye of the storm between helpful hands and naysayers, her heart swelled with both hope and anxiety. Each time someone offered to help, she felt a lightness in her chest. But hidden behind her gratitude were the whispers, judging her and her children for daring to care so deeply about a mere cat. Then, they discovered Whiskers trapped inside a hidden termite nest, frightened but alive. As Jamie clawed her way through the mess of branches and debris, the cheers of neighbors encouraged her on. But deep down, tensions flared anew. Whiskers' rescue became a metaphor for them not just reclaiming a pet but navigating battle lines drawn by judgment, fear, and hidden resentments. The moment they lifted Whiskers out, tears streamed down Jamie's face, and she hugged him tight. For a brief moment, barriers crumbled. Friends were forged from adversity among the lingering battle lines. Yet, as they embraced their togetherness, the unease lingered. In the warm, bubbling waters of joy lay the unanswered question: could this newfound connection withstand the turns of nature and circumstance? Would the community hold on to its lessons and grow from them, or would the past rise again like the storm that had battered their block? As they stood there, breathless and jubilant, Jamie caught sight of the hesitant smiles around her, fragmented yet hopeful, the shadows whispering under the surface. What had begun as their cat's journey became so much more. How would they continue on from here? The sun peeked shyly from behind the clouds the next morning, casting warm, golden rays over the drenched streets. Puddles glistened like tiny mirrors reflecting the fragile truce among the neighbors. Jamie stood on her porch, Whiskers snuggled close to her side, as Emily and Lucas excitedly recounted every moment of their adventure. The air felt lighter, almost festive, as laughter carried on the gentle breeze. Yet, behind the joyful chatter, a hint of uncertainty lingered in Jamie's thoughts. She looked around at the carefully crafted smiles on faces of neighbors who had once barely exchanged greetings. Could this newfound camaraderie stand strong against future storms? "Mom, can we have a cat party?" Emily's voice broke through her reverie. The idea sparked something in Jamie. A small gathering, where they could show gratitude to their neighbors, a thank you for the support when Whiskers was lost. "Great idea, Em. We can tell everyone to bring a snack, Jamie replied, her own excitement blooming. Perhaps this could usher in a new chapter, one stitched together by shared joy rather than discord. As the sun climbed higher, Jamie began to prepare. With the help of Emily and Lucas, they made colorful invitations featuring Whiskers, complete with crayon drawings by Lucas. The children squealed with delight every time they handed out a flyer, their enthusiasm infectious. But in the back of her mind, Jamie couldn't shake a feeling of dread. She had witnessed how quickly relations could sour. The whisper of conflicting opinions wafted through the neighborhood like an ominous cloud. While some neighbors rallied closely, others watched with skepticism. Would this gathering change anything for the better, or would it spark new arguments, the landmines of old grudges buried just beneath the surface? As the day of the party approached, Jamie found herself haunted by what she couldn't control. She decided to host the gathering in the backyard, a simple affair with picnic blankets thrown on the grass and treats for both children and furry friends. That evening, as she prepped, she caught sight of Mrs. Henderson lingering by the fence, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "Got a guest list, Jamie? Or anyone's welcome?" she called with a dry smile, attempting to mask her invitation with sarcasm. Jamie's heart raced at the edge of confrontation. The temptation to snap back sent shivers down her spine. Instead, she took a breath, pushing her shoulders back. "It's for everyone, Linda. The more, the merrier." The words felt much heavier coming out than she expected. To her surprise, Mrs. Henderson's expression softened slightly. "Well, that's good to know, even if the world doesn't revolve around one little cat." She turned then, leaving Jamie with a mix of relief and concern, surprised by the frustration bubbling beneath her ease. The day of the party, laughter filled the air as neighbors began to gather. Whiskers trotted around like a proud host, barking back to children who chased him, creating fleeting alliances over games and cheese cubes. But Jamie could see the undercurrents of uncertainty drifting between smiles, rivalry simmering just out of view. As she stood by the makeshift table, pouring lemonade, she felt a sense of determination. This gathering wouldn't just celebrate a feline friend, it needed to cultivate understanding amongst them. But how could she bridge the growing rifts in the fabric of their community? Suddenly, loud barking erupted from the backyard, startling everyone. Whiskers darted toward an old tree, and Jamie's pulse quickened. What if their festivities took a turn they weren't prepared for? The brewing tension hung in the air, promising new revelations. Would this gathering strengthen their bond or unravel the threads they had struggled to weave? Jamie took a deep breath, ready to dive headfirst into whatever lay ahead. Whiskers darted around the old tree, barking with an urgency that sent a ripple of confusion through the gathered crowd. Children paused mid-laughter, eyes wide with curiosity and a touch of concern. As Jamie moved closer, she felt her heart race. What had he found? The gathering, once buzzing with excitement, instantly tensed. Jamie exchanged glances with Emily and Lucas, both of whom wore expressions caught between dread and intrigue. Whiskers' yaps grew louder, almost frantic, as Jamie leaned further, trying to peer through the foliage. "Is he okay?" Lucas asked, fidgeting at her side. "I think so. Let us go see what he's barking about," Jamie said, holding her breath as she stepped carefully onto the soft earth, determined to discover the cause of her pet's unease. As they approached, Whiskers paused, cocking his head to the side. What lay at the foot of the ancient oak wasn't just a pile of leaves, it was a small, trembling kitten, barely older than a few weeks. The poor creature had tucked itself into a damp corner, its fur matted and muddy. Whiskers circled the little fur ball, barking softly, coaxing it out of its hiding spot. Gasps came from the neighbors as they gathered around. The initial tension in the air lifted, a feeling of shared concern replacing it. Jamie crouched down, reaching out a hand toward the frightened kitten. It looked up at her with wide, amber eyes, flaring with fear but tinged with hope. "It's okay, little one," Jamie whispered, her heart swelling with empathy. The kitten hesitated, then drew closer, sensing her soothing presence. "I'll grab a towel," Emily shouted, rushing into the house. Lucas joined her, both determined to help the ailing creature. As they worked to clean up the kitten, Jamie felt the neighbors leaning in, murmurs of curiosity and concern buzzing around them. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward, her arms still crossed but her eyes softening. "I've seen far too many strays in this neighborhood. It's not right," she said, her tone less biting. "We should find a home for this little one. Is anyone willing to foster?" "I can help with supplies," another neighbor chimed in. There was a moment of silence, and then a rush of offers followed. Jamie sensed the shift. This gathering was no longer just about Whiskers. It was an unexpected rescue mission, a catalyst for community connection. In those few minutes, anxiety turned to action. Laughter resurfaced as neighbors began sharing stories of their own pets and past rescues. Jamie's heart warmed not just from seeing the kitten cared for, but by witnessing barriers breaking down. This party had transformed into something greater, a shared purpose bringing them all together. As Emily returned with a towel, Lucas with a bowl of fresh water, Jamie couldn't help but smile at the cooperation blooming before her. "Look at this," she said, eyes shining. "Together, we can give this little one a brand new start." Cheers erupted as a couple of neighbors took initiative, forming a plan to set up a temporary foster home within their community. The bonding moment felt electric, a powerful reminder of what they could achieve together if they transcended their past conflicts. But just as the kitten began to relax in Jamie's arms, she spotted Mrs. Henderson's expression shift again. Curiosity flickered but was quickly replaced by something deeper. Jamie caught a glimpse of determination forming behind her skeptical facade. What if? Jamie thought, a quiet realization stirring within her. Maybe, just maybe, today's event could stitch old wounds into a new fabric, one that embraced compassion and understanding. With the kitten settled and a new wave of unity washing over them, Jamie felt an unfamiliar sense of hope rise like the sun. Would this be the catalyst to heal old wounds, and would it convince even the most skeptical of neighbors to join in this newfound alliance? The next moments hung delicately in the air as the laughter and chatter continued, teasing a transformation she had longed for. She looked around, heart pounding with anticipation. What would happen next? As Jamie held the tiny kitten close, she felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging that had long eluded her. The crowd's energy buzzed around her like a live wire, infusing the atmosphere with an infectious positivity. A feeling that was not merely about the kitten's rescue but about the community's awakening. "Who wants to name it?" Emily asked, wiping her hands on her shirt as she returned with the towel. There was a moment of silence, then hands shot up eagerly. "How about Whiskers Jr.?" One child piped up, laughter bubbling in their voice, clearly referencing Jamie's dog. "What about Hope? Since you found her when everyone was about to give up on getting to know each other." Another neighbor chimed. Jamie felt her heart flutter at the idea. The name held weight, representing not just the kitten but the potential for healing among them all. But she hesitated. "What if we all came up with a name together?" she suggested, her voice full of enthusiasm. "A vote!" yelled Lucas, bouncing on his feet. With that, the discussion took off, laughter and suggestions flying through the air. Jamie watched as Mrs. Henderson joined in, cracking a smile as she leaned forward to hear puppy and kitten names. The earlier tension seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a chorus of smiles and shared excitement. As Nick, the resident artist, doodled potential names on a scrap piece of cardboard, Jamie snuck another glance at Mrs. Henderson. To her surprise, she caught the older woman clapping her hands, a glimmer of joy in her eyes. It was small yet revealing. Perhaps the wall she'd built was beginning to weaken. The crowd's fervor intensified as they settled on Whiskers, a fitting tribute, but before they could finalize plans, a shout echoed from the back of the yard. "Hey, look!" A little girl pointed excitedly. "There's more." All heads turned toward a nearby bush where several tiny eyes peeked through, startled and uncertain. Jamie's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the familiar sight. Another kitten had emerged, shivering and thin, trailing close behind, followed by two more. Whiskers' ears perked up at the commotion, his friendly yaps resumed, encouraging the newcomers to join in. "Can you believe this? There's a whole litter!" Emily exclaimed, her eyes wide with astonishment. With a unified resolve, Jamie and the neighbors sprang into action, moving toward the bush. The urge to rescue the entire family surged within her. Full mission now escalated into a small movement of compassion. The excitement grew as the kittens hesitantly approached, their curiosity outpacing their fear. Whiskers led the way, nudging each tiny creature forward, his friendly demeanor a beacon of safety. Jamie knelt down, reaching out to one calico kitten that inched closer. Its tiny body pressed against her hand, and she felt an instant connection. "Okay, we really need to talk about fostering these, much like we planned for Whiskers here," Jamie declared, her heart pounding with the thrill of the moment. The crowd erupted into conversation, voices mingling with an excitement that filled the air. However, beneath the jubilation, the question loomed large. How could they care for all these kittens? Jamie glanced around, seeking support in the faces of her neighbors. Would they unite for this challenge as passionately as they had for the first pup? As they began brainstorming solutions, Jamie felt a tug of doubt. There was still so much division among them, lingering fears that perhaps this beautiful moment might fall apart when faced with reality. Just then, Mrs. Henderson stepped forward. "I say if we can start with one, we can handle more. Together." The words hung heavy with possibility, a shift paving the way for a deeper connection. Jamie scanned the faces surrounding her, searching for conviction in their eyes. Would this be the moment everything changed? Would they embrace this chance to reshape their community? And as the sun set lower, casting a golden glow over the gathered group, hope blossomed anew. Would they seize this moment for transformation? Or would the ghosts of their past pull them back into old patterns? The next step in their journey was calling, and together, they had a choice to make. The moment hung like a fragile thread, charged with the potential for change. Faces turned toward each other, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Jamie felt the pulse of that uncertainty echo within her. Could they truly come together as one? "All right," Jamie began, her voice steadying as she felt the urgency of the moment. "Let us create a plan for how we can help these kittens and their mom. We can form teams." Emily nodded eagerly. "We could have one group to build a shelter, another to gather food, and maybe a few of us can look for homes for them." Lucas jumped in, nearly bouncing in place. Jamie couldn't help but smile at their enthusiasm. "Exactly. Let us not just rush in. We need to be careful and make sure they're safe first." She felt the heat of excitement building again, mingling with determination. It was contagious. Everyone was joining in, tossing out ideas like confetti. Just as the groups began to form, Mrs. Henderson stepped forward again. "I could help with food. My daughter runs a local pet supply store. I can get a discount." Gasps of surprise went through the crowd. Jamie glanced at Mrs. Henderson, who seemed to stand a little taller now, her past insecurities slipping away like leaves caught in the wind. "That's amazing!" Jamie exclaimed, trying to contain her joy. "And we can definitely use your experience. Plus, we'll need volunteers for socializing the kittens, making sure they're friendly and adoptable." A buzz of agreement swept through the group, but she sensed one looming concern that silenced the air: fear of the unknown. Pursing her lips, she stepped onto a low bench, raising her arms slightly for attention. "Let us remember this isn't just about us or a few kittens. It's about creating something better together. We've all experienced hard times. We know what it's like to feel lost or alone. It's so easy to hold on to those feelings. But we have a chance to rewrite our story." Her gaze met Mrs. Henderson's, and for that brief moment, there was understanding reflected in the older woman's eyes. Jamie continued, her voice steady, "We can either let our fears keep us apart or push through and grow closer. Which will it be?" Whispers floated around, hesitation giving way to murmurs of agreement. Slowly, the energy shifted. It felt like the moment they'd all been waiting for, the threshold of something profound. Then, without warning, the kittens perked up, their little heads bobbing in unison as if sensing the rising tide of hope. It was as if they knew they would breed something beautiful from turmoil. Someone spoke up, voice laced with wonder, "It's like they're joining in too." Jamie laughed, the sound breaking the tension like sunlight breaking through clouds. They were forging a path, but just then, a loud rustling erupted from the bushes. From behind the leaves, a larger cat emerged, their cautious movements causing the kittens to huddle close to Jamie's legs. Unease rippled through the crowd. Is that their mom? Jamie's heart sank as she took in the slight frame of the feline, her green eyes wide and weary. She must be been watching us the whole time, Jamie whispered, stepping forward instinctively. The others mirrored her, curiosity blending with apprehension. Would this mother cat run away, or would she allow them to help? In an instant, Jamie was faced with the weight of new possibilities, clinging to hope for both the mother cat and her young ones. She took a deep breath. Okay, let us do this together. If she is scared, we need to show her we mean no harm. As she extended a hand, the crowd held its breath. Would this act of kindness sway the mother cat toward trust? With every eye on her, Jamie could feel the tension mounting, the emotional stakes escalating with raw intensity. This moment wasn't just about the kittens anymore. It was about breaking barriers, a test of their unity. But what would happen if their gesture was met with fear instead? Would they withstand another setback? As Jamie waited for the answer in the mother cat's eyes, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was just beginning. The mother cat paused, her green eyes scanning Jamie's outstretched hand. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as the crowd collectively held its breath. A stillness settled over the clearing, broken only by the soft rustling of the wind in the trees. Jamie's heart raced. What if this didn't go as they hoped? To us, these kittens symbolize hope, she whispered to herself. You can do this. With that thought fueling her courage, she lowered her hand, palm open, inviting the cat to take the leap of faith. The larger feline took a cautious step forward, then another. The crowd shifted slightly, urging her on with silent encouragement. Jamie felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest at each small movement. She was ready to meet this mother where she was, to show her that help was on the way. All the fears of past failures seemed to dissolve in that moment. As the cat hesitated, a small gray kitten ventured ahead, its tiny form braving the distance between them. It brushed against the mother's leg with a gentle mew, an innocent gesture of trust. The mother cat looked down, her eyes softening as she met her kitten's gaze. With one final, tentative step, she came closer to Jamie, the tension easing slightly in the crowd. We're here for you, Jamie murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, just like that, the mother cat rubbed her face against Jamie's hand, nuzzling closer. Relief washed over the group, followed by a chorus of soft cheers and gasps of joy. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, their united hope manifesting right before their eyes. I guess she knows we mean no harm, someone remarked, a smile breaking across their face. Laughter mixed with tears of relief filled the air, deepening the sense of community that was blooming among them. Jamie knelt down to meet the mother cat's gaze. See? You can trust us. And as if on cue, the kittens began to wander out from their hiding spots, delighted to be with their mother. Jamie felt an overwhelming surge of warmth as they all huddled together. The mood shifted palpably, a lifting of spirits tangible and real. Let us not waste any time, Jamie instructed, invigorated by their shared success. We can get to work on the shelter. Mrs. Henderson, if you could share the details for supplies. But the mother cat's soft mewing interrupted her, drawing Jamie's attention once more. The cat was looking back at her, an expression of gratitude that seemed to speak volumes. Jamie felt a bond forming, a promise of protection that hung in the air like a fragrant spring breeze. As the new plans unfurled among their small group, Jamie noticed the fierce determination in Mrs. Henderson's eyes. I will do everything I can to help, she declared, glancing at the mother cat and her kittens. They have the best shelter and treatment we can offer. The fire within the group grew. There was something electric about having come together, united by a common purpose. Jamie could already envision the shelter rising from the earth, a place that would cradle the fragile life of these kittens and their mom. Yet, as laughter and excitement filled the air, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that there was more at stake than just building a shelter. What else lay behind the fear that had gripped the mother cat? What if she had seen more than just neglect? The thought fluttered in the back of Jamie's mind like a bird searching for a way out. Just then, a sharp meow broke through her reverie. Jamie turned to find another figure emerging from the bushes, an ominous silhouette that entirely changed the mood in an instant. Who could it be? Was there another danger lurking that they had yet to face? The figure stepped into the clearing, and Jamie's heart raced again, only this time it was fueled by a sense of dread. The late afternoon sun cast a shadow over the stranger, creating an eerie effect. "Who are you?" Jamie called out, her voice trembling but firm. She sensed the crowd behind her pull back, their shuffling and whispers adding to the tension in the air. The gray of the stranger's attire seemed to blend into the surroundings, making them appear almost like a ghost. "Just someone passing through," the figure replied, yet their tone lacked the warmth that might have eased Jamie's growing anxiety. Instead, it hung cold in the air, like an unwanted chill, the mother cat hissed, instinctually drawing her kittens closer. Jamie understood the protective posture, a sudden clarity washed over her. She had to defend not just the vulnerable animals before her, but also the newfound sense of community that had blossomed among the townsfolk. "Passing through?" Jamie echoed, stepping forward, her heart pounding in her chest. "This isn't just some trail. You're scaring the mother and her kittens." The cat's low growls seemed to sync with the escalating tension, and Jamie realized that this was more than just a stranger. There was a threat far more dangerous than she had anticipated. It loomed in the air, invisible yet potent. "What do you want?" someone from the group shouted, spurring bravery among the gathered townsfolk. Jamie caught sight of Mrs. Henderson's steely glare, eyebrows furrowed with concern, yet unwavering. "I want nothing," the stranger answered, too casually. "It seems you've made a new friend out here. What do you know about her?" Jamie demanded, narrowing her eyes. She felt determination surging through her. Maybe it was the warmth of community, or perhaps the fierceness she felt for the mother cat. Either way, she wouldn't back down. The figure leaned forward, and Jamie could see their face clearly now. Even though it held a sly smirk, there was something unsettling in their eyes. "Let us just say not all who appear lost are looking for a way home." A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. Jamie felt her stomach churn. What did that mean? The strangers they passed on the street always felt benign, just busy people in a hurry. But here it was different. It felt personal, almost predatory. "Leave this place," Mrs. Henderson said, her voice steady, yet laced with an underlying fierceness. "You don't belong here." The stranger laughed softly, but there was an edge to it that stung. "You think you can protect them?" Their gaze flickered again over the mother cat and her kittens. "It's just a matter of time before the truth is revealed." Jamie stepped back, resolve hardening. "Stay away from them. We won't let you hurt them." With a screeching yell, the mother cat arched her back, her fierce demeanor a lifeline for Jamie. In that moment, Jamie felt something deep inside her, the need to shield, to protect, to stand up against whatever darkness loomed. "Watch yourself," the figure said. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they turned and melted back into the bushes. The moment stretched, leaving a heavy silence that walked alongside Jamie's racing thoughts. "Are we safe?" she finally asked, her voice softening, glancing at the mother cat now settled close to her trembling kittens. The crowd started to murmur slowly, fear creeping in. Jamie felt tension hang thick in the air as uncertainty clouded over the newfound camaraderie they had built. "We need each other now more than ever," Mrs. Henderson finally stated, her voice ringing like a bell in the hush. "Let us get them safe." Yet, as Jamie glanced back toward the wilderness where the figure had vanished, doubt nestled in her mind. Was this really just a passing encounter, or had they unwittingly stepped into something much larger than themselves? That lingering question hung in the air, heavy and charged, as Jamie prepared to lead the crowd into the wild to gather supplies. Would they be able to keep the mother cat and her kittens safe, or would a greater danger shadow their every step? Jamie's heart raced as they moved further into the thick woods. The once familiar paths now felt foreign, cloaked in the shadows of uncertainty. She could hear the murmurs of the crowd behind her, a mix of anxiety and determination echoing through the trees. Every rustle of leaves sent her mind spiraling with fear. What if the stranger was still nearby, watching them? "Keep close." Jamie called back to her companions, her voice stronger than she felt. She stole a glance at Mrs. Henderson, whose face was a mask of resolve. There was strength in her eyes that Jamie clung to. They were in this together. Moments later, they reached a small clearing where the sun pierced through the canopy, illuminating the ground scattered with dried leaves and twigs. The sight offered a fleeting sense of comfort, but it was quickly overshadowed by an unsettling urgency. What if that person comes back? A voice quivered from the group. It was Lucy, her voice barely audible, but the fear hanging in the question was palpable. "We'll be ready," Jamie promised, though her insides twisted with doubt. The realization that they had no real plan weighed heavily on her. She glanced at the mother cat, nestled protectively over her kittens, and remembered their fierce spirit. "We'll just have to outsmart them." "Outsmart who?" A voice cut through the tension. Jamie turned sharply to see Ethan, his brow furrowed as he stepped forward. "That person, they know something, don't they?" His question hung in the air, and Jamie nodded slowly. "They said not all who appear lost are looking for a way home." The words tasted bitter on her tongue. It resonated deeper than she expected. What if they were right? What if they were in way over their heads? "Maybe we should just go back," Ethan suggested, glancing nervously around. "What if no?" Jamie interrupted sharply, surprising herself. "We can't turn back now. We have to help the kittens." Mrs. Henderson placed a comforting hand on Jamie's shoulder. "You're right, dear. We need to stick together and gather supplies. If that figure meant what they said, we can't let fear stall our mission." Nodding, Jamie tried to identify nearby resources: branches, wildflowers, anything they could use for shelter or food. The group began to break off, searching. She moved closer to the mother cat, her heart aching for its vulnerability. The world felt off balance. Suddenly, a frantic rustle came from the nearby bushes. Jamie's breath hitched. "What was that?" she whispered, her eyes wide with panic. "Probably just a rabbit," Ethan said, but his voice lacked conviction. They all froze, straining to hear. The bushes shook again, and then, to their surprise, a small family of rabbits burst out, bounding past them. "Look!" Lucy exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as the rabbits darted into the thicket. "Food!" Excitement bubbled in the air, infectious despite the tension. Maybe they weren't as hopeless as they feared. As a few in the group scampered after the rabbits, Jamie turned back toward the clearing, scanning the area for anything useful. Then her gaze locked onto something glimmering on the ground, a piece of metal reflecting the sunlight. Curiosity piqued, she moved closer, bending down to examine it. As she lifted it in her hand, a chill ran up her spine. It was a part of a broken compass, the needle spinning wildly. "What's that?" Ethan asked, coming to stand beside her. "It's just a compass," Jamie said, trying to mask her unease. But something felt wrong. "You think it belongs to that stranger?" "Maybe," Mrs. Henderson said, her voice low and cautious. "Or maybe it points to something deeper. Something we haven't found yet." Jamie felt her heart thump in her chest. The stranger's warning flickered in her mind again like a warning siren. Was the wilderness leading them into danger rather than safety? She glanced back at the woods, wondering if the shadows held more than just trees. "Let us keep gathering supplies," Jamie urged, though she could feel a growing unease. The woods might hide emptiness, but they also concealed secrets, and they didn't quite know if those secrets were meant to protect or to harm. As they turned back to their search, another sound echoed softly from the direction they had come. A faint whisper of words wound its way around them. Jamie's breath caught. She glanced at the others, uncertainty pooling in her stomach. It was time for answers. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, knowing they had to confront whatever lay ahead. Would they find protection in their search, or would the shadows swallow them whole? Jamie's heart pounded in her ears as she strained to listen. The whisper floated through the trees, soft and elusive, yet it felt close enough to touch. It wasn't just the rustle of the woods, it was words calling out. "Maybe it's a trick," Ethan said, glancing nervously at the shadows around them. Or a warning, Mrs. Henderson added, her voice steady but edged with concern. We need to find out what it is. Jamie nodded, steeling herself. No one leaves the group. We stick together. The others hesitated, but they could sense her determination. They moved slowly, like a line of soldiers marching into the unknown. Each step felt heavier, each shadow seemed to stretch and twist in the fading light. Is it the kittens? Lucy asked, her face anxious. Are they calling for help? Maybe, Jamie replied, fear gnawing at her gut. What if they weren't alone? What if that stranger was lurking just out of sight, watching every move? As they entered a narrower passage through the trees, the whisper grew stronger, clearer. Jamie felt it resonate within her, tingling her skin. It was beckoning her, urging her to come closer. They compromised, they de-followed the sound until they unearthed its source. All at once, a shadow darted through the branches, and everyone froze. What if it's the stranger? Ethan breathed, eyes wide with dread. Stay calm, Jamie whispered fiercely, forcing herself to breathe. She could feel the warmth of her companions nearby, a fragile safety net. The whisper continued, weaving its way through the thicket. Jamie clenched her fists at her sides. She had to know. They had to know. So she moved forward, each step trembling with caution, until she stumbled into a small clearing bathed in the muted glow of the fading day. In the center stood a peculiar figure, shrouded in a cloak made of leaves and twigs. The figure was still, head bowed slightly. The whisper grew louder, forming layers of words that spilled into the air. I never meant to frighten you, it wasn't a man. It was a woman, her face hidden beneath foliage, but still emanating a strange comfort. I've been trying to help. Help? Jamie echoed, her voice echoing back to her. It felt foreign on her tongue. The woman lifted her gaze, revealing eyes that shimmered like the wet earth after rain. The kittens, they are in danger. This is not a safe place for them. Not anymore. Jamie's heart quickened at the mention of the tiny cries they had all been trying to reach. What do you know about them? I know the forests, the woman replied softly, stepping closer. But you must understand, it's not just your safety that's at risk. To rescue those kittens, you must confront a choice. A choice that will lead you deeper into the woods and closer to the truth. What truth? Jamie asked, adrenaline coursing through her. What do you mean? Not all is as it seems. The balance has shifted. And the compass you found, she gestured to the piece of metal that Jamie still clutched tightly, it points not just to direction, but to what must be faced. As she spoke, shadows shifted around them, and Jamie felt an unsettling chill creep into her veins. What did it mean? What choice lay ahead? Will you help the kittens? The mysterious woman pressed, her eyes unwavering. Jamie exchanged glances with Ethan and Lucy, sensing their shared hesitation but also a burgeoning hope. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward, her voice resolute. We didn't come this far to turn back. Just then, the whisper transformed into a low rumble, vibrating under their feet. It felt like a promise, or a warning. Then follow me, the woman said, and without waiting for them to respond, she turned and vanished into the thick foliage. Wait! Jamie shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the impending darkness. In that moment, she understood that the compass, the whispers, and the butterflies of uncertainty all led to a pivotal crossroads. It was their chance to save the vulnerable. But at what cost? With hearts pounding, the group followed the woman into the depths of the woods, unsure of what awaited them. They stepped into shadows that danced around them, reaching the heart of a mystery they never expected. Would they uncover the truth in time, or would they find themselves lost in the dark? The deeper they went, the more questions flickered in Jamie's mind. What had she really signed up for? And what awaited them in the unknown? The air felt charged with anticipation as Jamie and her neighbors ventured deeper into the heart of the woods, following the elusive woman in the cloak. Shadows twisted and turned around them like memories, creeping into their thoughts just when they needed clarity. Jamie clutched the broken compass tightly, feeling its weight in her palm, a symbol of the uncertainty ahead. Stay close, she urged, glancing back at Emily and Lucas, their faces alight with both fear and excitement. Mrs. Henderson was steady beside them, her presence a grounding force in this wild uncertainty. Ethan's eyes darted nervously between the trees, but Jamie noticed something powerful in his stance, a budding defiance against doubt. As they walked, whispers hung in the air, twirling around them like gentle breezes. Jamie could almost hear the echoes of their previous fears, the disapproval they'd encountered, the judgments passed. But those voices were fading, replaced by a growing resolve, an awakening of community that seemed to pulse beneath the surface. They were in this together, a united force against whatever lay ahead. After what felt like an eternity, they reached a small clearing. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a soft glow on the ground. In the center, the mysterious woman stood, her eyes sparkling with an ethereal light. "You've come far," she remarked, her voice melodic yet firm. "What do we need to do?" Jamie asked, her heart steadying as purpose infused her being. "We want to save the kittens." "Show us how." The woman gestured to a nearby thicket. "They are hidden, but not without a chance. However, saving them requires courage and unity. You must confront the shadows that seek to tear this love apart." Jamie felt a chill sweep through her. The shadows, were they a metaphor for old grudges and pain that had haunted the neighborhood? Or did they hold something darker, more sinister? "We can do this together," she said, glancing at her neighbors, finding strength in their gazes. The woman nodded, a smile of approval crossing her face. "Then gather your strength. Form a circle." As they linked arms, a ripple of energy flowed among them, a collective heart beating in unison. Jamie closed her eyes, focusing on Whiskers and the warmth he had brought into their lives. She remembered the laughter and joy that had broken down barriers. That flicker of hope had fanned into a flame, engulfing any lingering doubts in its light. "Let them feel our purpose," Jamie spoke softly. "Let them know we stand united." With each heartbeat, she imagined the kittens, their soft purring filling the air around them, an echo of hope that resonated deep within. The whispers transformed into a chorus of encouragement, lifting their spirits higher. Suddenly, the clearing began to shift. Vines twisted and curled away, revealing a hidden path that continued deeper into the woodlands. It was as if the very essence of their connections had opened the gates to new possibilities. "Let us go," Ethan said, bolstered by a newfound bravery. As they stepped onto the path, the forest transformed around them. The darkness gave way to sunlight, illuminating the truth they had sought, life blooming in the most unexpected places. Flowers opened in dazzling colors, their scents wrapping around them like a warm embrace. As they moved forward, Jamie spotted a group of tiny kittens peering from behind a cluster of bushes, wide-eyed and vulnerable. Whiskers, sensing their presence, rushed ahead, barking gently as if to reassure them. "This way!" Jamie shouted, her heart soaring as she sprinted toward them. The kittens, hearing the encouragement, scampered toward the safety of their rescuers, the bond of the family now mending. When Jamie reached them, she knelt down, stretching her hands out. "You're safe now," she whispered, her voice filled with warmth. Mrs. Henderson was by her side, crouching low to coax them closer. "We'll take care of you, we promise," she said, her demeanor a striking contrast from the icy woman she once was. As the kittens drew near, the air shimmered with a sense of possibility. Each tiny purr echoed with the promise of healing, not only for the kittens but for the community too. At that moment, something shifted inside Jamie. It wasn't just about saving one small life. It was about understanding each other, the strength found in vulnerability, and the power of compassion. The group stood together, watching as Whiskers lovingly licked the kittens, providing comfort and connection. A wave of warmth washed over Jamie, filling her with the thrilling pulse of newfound connection with her neighbors. They had all faced their fears and stepped into the light together. "Together," Jamie said, tears of joy spilling down her cheeks. "This is just the beginning." With laughter and hope flowing among them, they gathered the kittens into their arms and made their way back home, determined to create a story that celebrated love over fear. And as they walked, in the distance, the mysterious woman with the shimmering eyes watched them go, a contented smile creasing her lips. It was clear to her that the shadows were losing their grip, marking the end of an era of mistrust, and the dawn of something beautifully transformative. Together, they had carved a new path. Now, as you reach the end of this journey, I need you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. I want to know what you think, and don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of helping us grow. Thank you.